Is the cost of getting an occupational therapy degree worth the salary? To answer that question, I'm going to look at our average debt statistics for occupational therapists, and I have to admit, they're not pretty. The average occupational therapist that we've helped has had student loan debt about $190,000. We actually see occupational therapist debts that are obviously more than the average nationwide because people who reach out to us for help as student loan consultants are going to have a higher balance in debt than the average person who might just refinance with our refinancing links at studentloanplanner.com/refi without actually talking to us, right? So that is a skewed statistic, but it does show at least the upper third or upper quarter of the debt distribution in the occupational therapy profession. Occupational therapists, luckily, can still get just master's degrees and still practice, unlike physical therapists, which are required to get the DPT degree. Occupational therapists can still get just the master's. So that's good, that's helpful, but the average salaries that we're seeing are around 66,000 to, yeah, that's the median, but we really see a range of, say, like 55,000 to 80,000 is the most common salary range we see for occupational therapists. That has big implications for your future because if you're going to stay single, then going for loan forgiveness is probably going to make the most sense. So you really need to think about what strategies make the most sense to get the maximum loan forgiveness so you can pay as little as possible on your student loans and have more money that you can put aside for other financial goals. Now, for your typical occupational therapist who's getting married, that could really cause a lot of stress because if you don't have a plan, you might get married to somebody that has a similar income to you or more with no student loan debt, and then that could cause some friction if they have to pay a percentage of their income as well towards your student loan debt, and that has big implications of whether or not you might want to get married or be maybe spiritually married instead of legally married, so you don't have to count your spouse's income in your loan repayment. Now, if you're getting married and that's non-issue, which is frankly is for most people, they don't really think about that, then you might have to be in a situation if you're working in a private employer setup where you would have to live off of one salary and have your entire salary as an occupational therapist go towards paying back the loans. If you're working for a not-for-profit or government employer full-time as an occupational therapist, you might benefit enormously from something called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. If you pay based on your income for 10 years while you're working at one of these employers that qualifies full-time, then you could get that remaining balance after the 10 years of payments forgiven tax-free, which is incredible as an occupational therapist to have that amount of debt wiped away. I will say that if I had to answer the question, is occupational therapy worth the debt? I would say from a pure financial perspective, I would say absolutely not.